everyone doing today? I wanted to come on and first say I hope that all of you that celebrated had a very Merry Christmas, and I wanted to also say how humbled and appreciative I am about how many people have come forward and commented on the true crime videos that are up on our channel. And I just can't believe it. We have comments coming in from Italy and from Ireland and all over the world. Of course, we have them from the United States. And it's just been such a pleasure to connect with you guys and to talk about the cases, because I've always had an interest in true crime. I've always wanted to start a podcast. And in the past, on other videos, I've talked about Dirty John, the John Meehan case, and I've talked about other cases. I've talked about even starting like a book club and all of these things that I've been talking about. But I had thought, because I listened to a lot of true crime podcasts, that I needed to do a podcast. And I have my Yeti mic and all of that, but I just never got around to starting the podcast. And the YouTube channel is something I use for my blog. And you'll see the other reviews and things are totally different than the true crime. But since it's more of a lifestyle blog and channel, I figured, okay, why not just try one video about true crime? And there was a tremendous response. So I'm really happy, because this is something, like I said, that I've been interested in for as long as I can remember. And one of the most riveting cases for me was the Joel Steinberg case. I don't know if you had a Nussbaum, if you remember that one way, way back with poor little Lisa Steinberg. And perhaps if you have an interest in that, let me know. What I want to do going forward is, because I have such an interest in true crime, and it looks like a lot of you share that interest, let me know which cases you'd like to delve into a little deeper. Now, I know there's a great interest in the Watts case, and of course, we'll be covering that, but we have Kelsey Berreth, which is who I'm going to talk about right now. But I just want to put this out there. Please, in the comments, let me know if you remember the Joel Steinberg, Lisa Steinberg, Hedda Nussbaum case that went on, and that's of interest. Let me know. If there's something else you want to talk about. Jodi Arias, the Travis Alexander trial, is something I've studied extensively, and I do have a video to make, because I have one nagging question that I have tried to talk to people about, because I was, again, riveted by that trial, and I watched it, over and over, the cross front with Juan Martinez. He was amazing in that. There's just so many things that went on there that are worthy of discussion, further discussion, but I have one nagging question, and I'm going to make a video about that nagging question and see if any of you share that with me, okay? All right, so let's get on to what we know about the Kelsey Berreth case. So, with the Kelsey Berreth case, it's been in a much slower pace than the Watts case, okay? When Shanann went missing to when, Chris was in there for questioning to when he was arrested, the timeline went like that, okay? So as we've watched this Berreth case, people have been saying, like, why is it taking them so long? Because a lot of us suspected right away that the fiance had something to do with this. And I said to you in a former video that I think they're being told, like, people were saying, well, why is the mother saying more? What's going on? And then it was all because probably she was told to keep it low. They were gathering evidence, and he was not being very cooperative. So, though they said, he was cooperative with his attorney, he wasn't volunteering, voluntarily coming in to answer any questions that they had. And he was very evasive, didn't want to talk to anybody when, outside of his lawyer's office at the time. he got in with his baby and avoided that. Other reporters showed up at the gate. He made no pleas, whether, you know, phony like Chris Watts did or not. He just didn't do it at all. He didn't show up at a press conference, said he had something like a prior commitment, or his, you know, he would have come, and that was, I believe, issued through his lawyer as well. So there were a lot of things that were different in that respect. And I told you guys from the very first time I saw him, this man is guilty. Okay, this man had something to do with this. And he is not an innocent fiance here. So let's look at what we know so far and what's going to happen today at 1 p.m. and what's planned to happen December 31st. Okay, so let's see what we know so far. Now, on Thanksgiving Day was that surveillance in the Safeway store that you saw Kelsey walking in with her daughter in a carrier. The thing that's a little puzzling to me is those carriers are not, I mean, her daughter is over a year old, it's, you know, she's a few months probably over a year old. Those carriers are, I don't think they're rated. I know when I had my kids in them, I mean, there were sometimes we had our 15-month-old using it in like my husband's truck before we got another full-size car seat, but I never took, you know, him out and carried it. The child looked so small in there. I mean, you could barely see her. You saw the big blanket. But then when you saw Patrick with the child outside the lawyer's office, she looked much bigger. She looked, I mean, even some people were reporting her to be like 2 years old, even though she's not. And I don't see how that child fit into that little baby seat, but I don't know. Perhaps she was asleep in the blanket. I don't know. It was just, it seemed too small for her. And I know other people, and I know others have mentioned that. So that was one thing. You saw her go into the supermarket. We questioned why we didn't see any footage of her checking out at the registers, right? And again, that may be something that police were holding, investigators, law enforcement was holding, because it was something that they wanted to keep on the down low, okay? So November 22nd, you had that, and that was Thanksgiving Day, that footage. And then from that point, on November 25th, 3 days after that, a text was sent from Kelsey's phone. Now, her mom had spoken to her on the 22nd. She said she had no big plans for Thanksgiving, and she said that she sounded okay. You know, not like anything was wrong. And if Kelsey had a trip or anything planned, her mother said she would have told the family. So the next thing that we have is that on the 25th, her employer and supposedly her fiance received a text from her phone, and it was pinged near Gooding, Idaho, which is about 800 miles from her home. Those were the two texts they were sent, and we don't know the context of what was sent to Patrick's phone. We do know to the employer it said something to the effect that I won't be in this whole next week. And then from that point, nobody heard from her. There were no more texts. There was nothing more with that phone. On December 2nd is the day that Kelsey's family reported her missing, and that was 10 days after the time she was last seen. Supposedly the last person to see her alive was Patrick, and it was at her house where they were exchanging their daughter. That's a whole nother, you know, scenario. Why are they exchanging their daughter, especially on Thanksgiving? If they're together, wouldn't they be together with their daughter on Thanksgiving? So there's a lot of questions there, and again, I believe things are being kept quiet, under wraps, because of the investigation, and I believe in the next few days and over the course of a trial, we are going to see more and more information released, and we'll understand probably a lot of the reasons that so much of it is kept quiet. So they found fresh baked cinnamon buns when they searched her residence. They were untouched, as if they had been baked for Thanksgiving and just untouched. Also, it didn't look like anything was really missing, as if she had packed for a trip. Her car was there, I believe. I'm not sure if her purse was there, but I know key things were there. Her phone was obviously gone because it wasn't there, and we'll talk in a minute where it was recovered. But her cars were there, her personal effects were there. It didn't look like she had packed. It didn't look like she had went away on a trip or anything like that. And again, she did not alert her family that she was going anywhere. So then we had police searching Patrick's home, and that was days they were searching his home. We saw his red pickup truck, the one that the reporters, were trying to speak to him outside, was taken away on a flatbed. We saw bags of evidence being carried out of that house, and we saw someone that said they were a family friend, but looked like an older woman. It almost looked like a woman that could be his mother, but it said family friend. Again, we don't know if that's true, if it was a family friend or if it was the mother. She was a blonde-haired older woman, and she was testifying to Patrick's character. About him having anything to do with this would be totally out of character. He's a great man, blah, blah, blah. So we know that that doesn't mean anything, because look at the Chris Watts case. They couldn't find anybody to think or say that he would be violent, much less kill his own children and his wife, right? Okay, so then on Thursday, which I believe was the 20th, Thursday night, there was enough evidence. Now, the Idaho police said they found vital evidence in Idaho around the area that her phone pinged, which is believed to be her cell phone. So they had enough evidence between that, and they had been searching Kelsey's home and, of course, Patrick's home. They had enough evidence Thursday night to get an arrest warrant, and they arrested him Friday morning at dawn at his ranch. Took him away in cuffs. There's coverage of it if you'd like to see it. They took him away in cuffs, and he is held at the Teller County Jail without bail. He had a hearing that same day via web conference. Now, at that hearing, there were no cameras allowed in. The press that were there said there were no cameras allowed in, and we have an interesting development in that too, because I was wondering myself, are there going to be no cameras allowed if there's a trial or whatnot? And a judge ruled a few days later, I think it was the 25th that it came out, but I don't know if that was when the actual ruling was, but that gag order or the request by the defense to limit media coverage was denied. So the prosecution is going to be able to talk about things that are going on in the case and all of that. So that request was denied. Let's go back. Friday, he was arrested. Patrick Frazee was arrested at dawn on charges of first-degree murder and solicitation to commit murder. The mother of Patrick Frazee, who's a mother of 4, who owns the ranch that you've seen in the pictures. Patrick does not own that. He lives there. She owns that outright, and she owns 2 other properties in the area. He is the caretaker, if you will. He attends to the ranch, and he also breeds dogs. So it's her property, she owns it, and she was detained, but she was not arrested. Now, police say there may be more arrests in the coming days. Now, whether that is for his mother, whether that is for whoever he had the solicitation with, we will see. Remains to be seen. The defense, okay, another important development. Remember, he was dealing with that private attorney. No more. Looks like funds have run out because he has a public defender. And he is working with that public defender fighting these charges. So as of right now, it doesn't look like he's going to plead guilty or take a plea deal or something. It looks like he's going to fight these. So we'll see if it ends up going to trial, or when presented, you know, with all the evidence, will he take that plea deal like Chris Watts did? We'll have to see. Right now he's fighting this with a public defender. His next court appearance, so that court appearance on Friday, he said not a word. The judge read the charges to him, and like I said, he appeared via web conference, and the attendees in the courtroom could not see that screen. There was no one in attendance from Patrick's family, and it was very brief. The defense did request that they wanted all evidence in the case turned over to them, including the text and emails, and the prosecution has said, no, you know, that is not right, because that can give you an unfair advantage of seeing maybe our strategy and where we're going in this case. So we'll see, you know, what goes on there. Now today at 1 o'clock, they are supposed to have a custody hearing. As I'm taping this, it is not 1 o'clock there in Colorado, so we don't know what's happening. We don't know whether that is just a formality anytime a child is taken from a home. Kelsey's daughter and the daughter of Patrick, has been returned to the Berreth family. So we don't know whether this is a formality regarding that, or if this is something that was in place prior to Kelsey going missing. So we have to find out what happens there, and I will, you know, watch to see what happens. Now there is a possibility that he may make an appearance at this hearing, either in person or via the web conference. Let's go back to why they had enough evidence to have an arrest warrant issued for Patrick before even a body is found. Now police said sadly, the evidence they have uncovered at this time, they are fairly certain that, you know, Kelsey is no longer alive. And so that was sad. They uncovered evidence in Kelsey's home that would indicate she was killed in her home. They are still actively, you know, gathering information from her home about this. So yes, but right now they have reason to believe that she was killed in her home. And that's really sad, because did the daughter witness this? You know, because it's supposed to be when the exchange was being made. Now regarding that exchange, because again, the question is, why weren't they together on Thanksgiving? Why would they be making an exchange of the daughter? Wouldn't they be together if they were a unit? Well, a family member had said that Kelsey broke off her relationship with Patrick that day. Now that could have led up to what happened. We don't know yet. We don't even know if that's true. Investigators are saying right now they're not confirming that, so we don't know. I would imagine, just based on what I'm hearing, that doesn't sound like a couple that's intact. It doesn't sound like a family that's intact. Now, the other thing that's telling is that Kelsey moved from Washington to Colorado to be with Patrick, but she did not move into his ranch because, let me take that back. She did not move into the ranch because he lived with his mother, and again, his mother owned that ranch. Instead, she purchased her own home for a little under $190,000, a two-bedroom home in Woodland Hills, and that's where she lived with her daughter. Now, she had a two-bedroom home. Why Patrick didn't go in with her, you know, move in with her, I don't know. It could be we're going to learn more of an estranged relationship Perhaps it was another type of thing where the mother didn't like the fiance, or the fiance. We don't know all the dynamics behind the family, but we are sure to be learning that soon. And on Wednesday, 2 days before he was arrested, Patrick Frazee visited a waste management facility, and that raised more than a few eyebrows. The next time Mr. Frazee is due to appear in court is December 31st. And we'll see. It should probably be televised this time, since media coverage is not limited. And we saw media coverage in Chris Watts', court appearances. So I think that we will see it covered. Patrick's mother's name is Sheila. She's a mother of 4. She's a registered nurse. To reiterate again, she was detained, but she was not arrested. Police, however, say that more arrests may be coming. Now, the Idaho police are still searching, but investigators and law enforcement in the Woodland Hills area has alerted residents that in the coming days they should expect an increase of police activity. And this is believed to be as they are searching to recover Kelsey's body, which, again, they say they sadly have the evidence that she is no longer alive, which is really sad for the family, especially during Christmas, and to consider that this little girl is there, and did this little girl even witness what happened to her mother, which is absolutely horrific to even think of that. But the Berreth family, I'm sure, is trying to keep things as normal as possible for little Kaylee, and while they're grieving for their daughter. And I think at this time they probably know the evidence that the police have, and if it is that telling, we don't know what the police could have. Are there surveillance cameras at Kelsey's house, or at a neighbor's house, that could have actually shown something very concrete that proves that Kelsey is no longer alive? And at that point, I would think her parents just want to recover her body and lay her at rest, and then try to help Kaylee, depending on where she's at with anything. I don't know if she's a verbal child yet or what's going on there, but it's just got to be horrific all the way around. So keep them in your prayers if you're a praying person. And really, it's so sad. It's so sad. And I thought of that and Shanann Watts' family during the Christmas season, because Shanann loved Christmas so much. Her father did, and with them grieving for family members, and everything is probably a trigger. If they wanted to put up a tree, sometimes they might just say, I can't even deal with that now. But if they did, go ahead and do that. Probably every ornament, or at least a majority of ornaments, are going to be reminders of their daughter, their granddaughter, and just the holidays in general. That was Shanann's favorite thing. It's really, really, really hard. I mean, I've lost my parents, and it's hard, okay, with many triggers going on. But your child, no parent should have to bury a child. And it's just a loss that's unnatural, okay? We expect that our parents will leave this earth before we do, and it's something that's expected. But your child, is something you don't expect, is something that's against the law of averages and everything. So yeah, it's a really, horrible loss, totally just unimaginable unless you're going through it, and then to add to it 3 grandchildren. So yeah, it's really bad, and keep them in your prayers if you're a praying person, those families, because they are dealing with unimaginable grief. And at a time of year, it's just, grief comes and it goes, and some days it's worse, and some days you think you're feeling better, and then something triggers it. And the holidays can be a tremendous trigger for that. So really keep them in your prayers, because they're going through so much. Okay, so that's what I have on this. I will let you know when I hear what happens with this custody trial and the December 31st, and if something comes up before then, try to do another video to update you. Again, please let me know which cases you'd like to hear from me about, discuss with me. I really, again, enjoy the intelligent conversation. I like to deal with facts on my channel. I think that's from my background in journalism, and that I am a journalist, I am a writer. I've worked in web publishing for over 20 years, and I've been working with my own blog and everything for almost 10 years. So yes, I like to deal with facts. I'm not about drama, I'm not about stirring a pot, and I'm not about, you know, putting on shows, because I'm not interested in being the star of Housewives reality show. And sometimes there are channels that are like that, and you know, if you like that, there's no problem. There's no problem if you like that. I mean, there's different strokes for different folks, but I'm just letting you know I'm more straightforward. I really don't want crazy drama. I want to discuss intelligently cases, and I'm more matter of fact, and let's talk about things. Some things you'll get me heated up, okay, as you saw with Shanae and Watts, thinking about those kids and what happened. Yes, so you'll see emotion from me, but I'm going to try to keep it, you know, professional and have that interaction with you guys, okay? And like I said, even if you don't agree with me, you know, if you keep it civil, I'm willing to discuss things with you. You know, I won't just ban your comment because it doesn't agree with mine. If you, you know, throw a comment out there that's just laced with profanity and all that stuff, no, I'm not going to approve that. I won't. It says it right, you know, there. I don't, you know, don't leave comments like that, because this is not a channel that I'm spouting off profanity. I have little kids. I have 5 kids. I have older kids. I have little kids. I don't want to have a channel on in my house that if my child comes into a room that they're hearing, you know, F-bombs every minute, because it's not what I want to raise my children around. So you won't hear that on my channel, and I don't want to see it in my comments. So I understand if you're passionate and you want to use that language. You know, you can put, if you want to put asterisks and dollar signs and stuff to let me know that you're using that type of language, but I'm not going to have nasty, horrible comments going on, because I just won't. So if you'd like to discuss things intelligently with me and we can have that, yes, even if you don't agree, that's fine. I'm not going to ban your comment if it's, you know, a comment like that. But if you come out and you either, like I said, use that just complete profanity there, then I have to ban that. And if you go on there and you attack, you know, Shanann's family, or Kelsey's family, or Kaylee, or something like that, and, you know, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not going to have you on there, you know, attacking Shanann. I'm not going to have you attacking her parents or anything. It won't happen here on this channel, because that is like extremely disrespectful. Extremely disrespectful. And one other thing I just wanted to mention, I think the reason a lot of people are saying, well, how come some of them, you know, maybe didn't have an interest in true crime, didn't have, this is, the Watts case is the first time they've really gotten so invested in what's going on, you know, with the case, every little detail of it. I think it's for a couple of reasons. First, Shanann was so out there, you know, and so giving of herself and of her time, showing you things she was doing with her kids. Yes, she was promoting her business, but she was also you know, showing us she was making cannoli cookies for Thanksgiving, and she was getting ready to decorate the house and telling us how much she loved Christmas, and she became a person that, at least for me, and I didn't see the videos of her prior, but I will tell you something very strange has happened. As I watched those videos, I came to really like her and really like those girls, and really, I mean, it affected me. Like, I was crying my eyes out when I was watching those girls. But just the other day, you know, because I would put her video on or something, and I'd see her, like I said, baking, and I thought, like, oh, I wonder if Shanann has a new video. Shanann's not here anymore, you know. And then it just brought it back very raw again, like, who the heck just extinguished her life, those kids' lives, with such arrogance, with just no, I mean, why? It's just, it's crazy, you know? And I've said it before, get a divorce. Move on with your life. You don't have to kill your wife. You don't have to kill your kids. Here's another one, Frazee. Whatever the reason, is it because he thought she's going to win the custody battle, so he's going to kill her? You know, I don't know where their heads are at. I don't know, but it's not anywhere they should be. So yes, I think a lot of us got very invested because we really liked Shanann. We really started to, you know, get to know her in a way that you don't get to know a lot of victims. You know, there was just so much on Shanann out there. So yeah, we felt drawn by that, and then that discovery and all of this that was released, and plus it was such a short timeline. So it wasn't like, even though the Arias case, we did have, there's a lot of video there of Travis and stuff. It didn't have the little kids, and I think the little kids are a big factor because we're all like, how could their little lives be snuffed out because of someone wanting to move on with his? But there was so much time between that murder and the trial, and then we had the hung jury, and it was just, it dragged on. But even though it did, you know, people got into that. Some people afterwards, there's all the, you know, trial days on YouTube, coverage of them. And then, you know, Casey Anthony, but this one I think gripped just because there's been so much more on social media than there was prior to that, and so many groups and stuff. So I just think it has to do with that. It has to do with Shanann being so real in those videos and letting us glimpse, you know, at her life, and even at vulnerable times when she's taking off makeup, just talking. Yes, maybe she's promoting a product, but we could also get to see her as a person, really, and see those little girls laughing and smiling and, you know, having fun. And it's just, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So I think that's why a lot of people are saying, how did I become so invested? Not me, I'm talking in general. That they feel so invested in this Watts case, and many of them were not even aware, like they had an interest in true crime. Okay, so yes, so let me know what you would like to discuss next. I do have that burning question for Arias, about Jodi Arias. I do want to make a video on that, so I will do that. But let me know if you're watching Dirty John. I'm also watching Escape from Dannemora. If you want to discuss that, let me know. And then, you know, I'm so happy to have found so many people that I can talk to about these types of cases. Like I said, because I've always had an interest in true crime, and a lot of times when you try to talk to your friends or whatever. I used to get on a morning call because I was training people at the time, and I was rewatching Jodi Arias, the trial again on YouTube, and I would just get on every morning because I would watch it at night, and I just had so many things to say, and most of the people were interested, but I could never get anyone to really watch it. Really, I said, you just have to watch it. Go watch the cross-examination, but they didn't have as much of an interest as I did, though they listened. It's been just great to talk to people that can understand, and I can bounce ideas off, and they can bounce ideas off of me, and I've enjoyed that interaction. When I say I have an interest in true crime, I just want to make it clear, because I know it's clear to those of you that have an interest in true crime, but to people that don't, or some people that have just discovered, like I said, that they're interested in a case, they take some things the wrong way. When I say I have an interest in true crime, or that I'm riveted by something, it doesn't mean that I'm glad that these true crime cases happen. By no means. I wish I had the ability to erase them all, to bring everything, to bring Shanann back, the kids back, to bring Lisa Steinberg back, to make sure that these things had the ability, the power to make it that these things never happened. Believe me, I would. Okay? I would love it to live in a world where, this stuff never happened. Okay? So, no. Am I glad that these things happen, or am I just sitting around waiting for the next one? Like, no. Definitely not. They're horrific. They're horrific. When they are out there, though, I think that the interest lies in, especially like the Watts case, you want to know what in the world could cause a man to do this, especially a man that people are saying, well, he had no inclinations of anything like this. You see him playing with his kids. You see him doing stuff for his kids. He knew so much about them, and then he goes and does the most unthinkable thing ever that a parent could do. And you say, what in the world? And I think it's our attempt to try to understand why that happens, because it scares us so. And that's where that interest comes, because that's not a movie. This is real life. And if this is happening, and especially when it's happening, it's different if it's happening and you've got a guy like Charles Manson, and you might say, oh, well, we could see, he was a dangerous guy or whatever. But I think when the face of evil is someone that looks like someone you work with, someone you meet at your children's parties, someone that you interact with on a daily basis. I mean, I just told my daughter the other day, I said the Watts case has really had me looking at people, especially couples now, and really wondering, because like sometimes you say, oh, they look like a great, look, he looks like a great dad. Is he really? You just think, is he about to snap? Is he about, what's going on? And it's really changed my perception of a lot of things. And I think that's where this interest in what's going on comes from, because we're trying so desperately to figure out, in order to protect ourselves, to protect others, to protect our children, to protect, just figure it out, because just not knowing what causes someone to do this is troubling. So that's where that comes from. It doesn't come from that, oh my gosh, we're so glad this happened, I can't wait for the next one. Definitely not. I hope and I pray that nothing like this ever happens again, at all. So I just want to make that clear, because I think most of you understand that, especially those that like true crime. You're probably relating to what I'm saying, but there were one or two comments that said something like, well, how could I say, that I am engaged in this case, or that I liked watching these trials of, whatever. And it was taken in a way that it was not meant. And it's definitely not that I like the crime. It's definitely not like that I like what they did. Absolutely not. 100%. So just clearing the air on that. Let me know again, please let me know in the comments what cases that you'd like me to go into some more detail with, okay? Whether it's any of the ones that I mentioned or it's something else. And we can do that because I follow a lot of true crime, and those were just a few that I threw out there that I follow. So let me know, and because I want to bring you guys something that you're ready to discuss and, you know, interested to discuss, or you might have questions about, because like I said, I have that nagging Jodi Arias question, and I will bring it up in another video because this one is going on too long and I want to keep it on a certain subject matter. So I will bring you updates on Kelsey Berreth, and thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you very soon, and I'll talk to you in the comments. So just leave a comment. I try to reply to your comments and get to them as quickly as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.